played a lot of practice sets together. There were 8-man tournaments being organized for practice purposes where a lot of players just played their actual lineups for this tournament against each other. Against other players who are in this playoff, Monsanto went 10-0 through that tournament. So his lineup is working so far. Whether that has given a few of these players just that little bit of experience against his lineup that they may need that can turn it around, we will see. But more importantly, in the context of this series, yeah, the Murloc Paladin got a win. That was going to happen. That's not where Monsanto is concerned. And yeah, I'm sure if you are playing Jungle Giants and with your only limited to 2 or 3 card mulligan can still hit Wild Growth and a 3-drop every game, I can understand why you think this is a real deck.
Yeah, not too bad. I'll just outline what the deck does, just because...
Go ahead, Ray.
This is not really a deck that you've seen that often, but Jungle Giants, after you play a 5 minions with 5 attack or more, you gain Barnabas, which is a 5-mana 8/8 beast, and when that's played, it reduces the cost of all the minions in your deck to 0.
Yes.
You think, well, they're not in my hand, right? Like, that's annoying. Well, a card like Ultimate Infestation that draws 5 cards, potentially 5 0-mana 8/8 plus minions, yes, you gain a huge board very quickly and then punch your opponent in the face very hard. So that is what Monsanto is trying to achieve here.
Yeah, and crucially, you heard it in the intro as well, if you were around with us from the beginning. Monsanto particularly, when he was designing his lineup, he said he tried out this deck and it was farming Jade Druids. He said 90% plus. So we will see if that works out for him as you get a little sneaky peek at some of the key cards in this deck. Of course, Jungle Giants is the quest itself. Menagerie Warden is a very, very big one, though, because that is a 5-attack minion itself. Then it also summons an additional copy of the minion. This guy down here is the one you're looking for. If that hits the board and resummons another 5/5, that can be a huge progress towards just completing your quest in a single play.
Yeah, and then just to hit some of the minions, you know, even Shellshifter transforms into a beast. There's the Sated Threshodon in the deck too, as well as Stranglethorn Tigers. So there is more than just the one. You know what I mean?
Stranglethorn Tiger's the big one you're looking for as well. If you land that, and then that, obviously it's got stealth, so your curve into Menagerie Warden just works perfect.
You end up just putting like easily 30+ power on the board, and it's down to your opponent whether they've got taunts or some kind of answer. Already, Empanizado got off to a reasonable Jade start. You can see the sort of toe-to-toe for mana. But he's racked up his Jades a little bit, you know, reasonable amount for this turn. Still got the Jade Blossoms as well, but might be eyeing up this Nourish instead to really go for it. Having Ultimate Infestation available in hand basically says, yes, go, get there now. And next turn he can Jade Blossom if he wants to guarantee a 10-mana turn the turn after.
Yeah, Monsanto, I did watch a lot of his practice sets where he was running this deck, and from his position, he doesn't think he can be outvalued in this matchup, which sounds weird. Jades are a deck with infinite value, but it's also about the amount of time you have in the matchup for that value to be imposed, right? There is an infinite time when every minion in the game is as big as they are in this matchup. So Monsanto says that by the time the matchup ends, he has a lot more value in his deck than Jade Druid does. Yeah. It's a matter of Jade Druid rushing him down if they lose.
And look at these options as well. Coin with Shellshifter and Longneck, 2 minions on the board. You can go Stealth and then Bone Mare next turn. That's 3 of the 5 quests he needs to do in 2 turns. That's pretty quick, right? You know, we're not talking Quest Warrior. You know, that's like, you're looking at 8-9 turns plus to get the quest done. This can be done very, very quickly, but Monsanto actually decided to just play the Arakoa on the board instead. Hold onto that coin. That does surprise me a little bit, because you could drop a lot of pressure on this board in the next turn or 2.
Yeah, you could.
Although I feel like questioning anything Monsanto does with this deck is just me being inferior as a person.
I think questioning many things that Monsanto does with many combo decks probably makes you inferior as a person. This guy is one of the true combo deck masters. There are these kinds of personalities in Hearthstone who just come hell or high water, they just stick to the combo strategies. They just want to do cool things. They just want wacky interactions to happen.
I would say Monsanto and Rage really stick out as the 2 main ones.
Right.
And yeah, We'll see what happens now with Monsanto's lineup. It's going to be answered by the Primordial Drake. I'm wondering why the coin is held. What 10 mana plays are you looking for this early?
This is a pretty good 10 mana card in the deck, Raven.
Yeah, it doesn't even have it.
No, I know. But I think generally you have Nourish in the deck, you have Ultimate Infestation in the deck, so going into the late game with cards like Innovate and Coin in your hand, they don't lose as much value as they used to because you can draw so many cards for such an expensive cost.
Cards are going to be 0 mana, so.
You quite often, I mean, not necessarily. He's still some way away from filling his deck with 0 mana dudes at this point.
3 to 4 minions, though, if you count Barnabas. There's one. No Beast down. Now he's got Innovate, though.
Yep.
So you can play the Long Neck and then Menagerie Warden. And this is summoned minions.
Correct.
Not played.
Correct.
So Menagerie Warden creates an additional quest proc when it duplicates a minion, if it's 5 attack or more. Shell Shifter can become a 5/3 stealth. That in itself is scary.
The jungle provides.
Here we go. There's one. Here's 2 more. And that's the quest.
Now I'm very interested as to what Monsanto does with these attacks, because as I mentioned, he doesn't think he gets outvalued in this matchup. So how much is 14 damage worth to him when there's value trades available on the board for him to take? Those value trades, however, do set him up into swipe just a little bit, and it looks like he is eyeing up some of those trades, even though this is nearly 50% of his opponent's life total he can carve off.
Eyeing up some of those trades.
Very nice. Have a cookie.
Hey.
All right, 9's going face.
Yeah,
Don't blame him.
Yeah, to not throw 9. Something we saw in some of his practice matches, do you remember?
Yeah.
He traded quite heavily at one point, and I think a lot of people were like, you could have pretty much killed him. You know, like almost set him to lethal, basically.
Yeah.
And
Well, again, that's
we'll
his
see.
philosophy.
Yeah,
He
we'll
says
see
he
how
just
it
doesn't
goes.
lose the long game.
This is just a lot of damage on board, though. Ultimate Infestation can gain 5 armor and kill off this Arakoa, open up a trade into the other 2 minions, and only leave 10 power on the board. Imagine if Empanizado actually just didn't have Ultimate Infestation this turn. Did he just lose? Just look at the power on board.
Yeah.
Never mind Barnabas. Doomsayer's probably going to have to be combined with Spreading Plague to try and wipe the board. That is a
I can see
tactic
that.
commonly used when you play Doomsayers in this Jade Druid list, because it is incredibly difficult to hit through that many 1/5s because they basically match your board with 1/5 taunts.
Yeah, it's actually one of the key ways you can outplay people in the Jade Druid mirror.
Yes, yes.
Is if your opponent uses their removal resources, like their swipes and their wraths, to the point where they can no longer kill a Doomsayer, it doesn't matter how big their Jade board gets. You can match their minions 1-for-1 with Spreading Plague and then hide a Doomsayer behind it, and there's just no way in the deck to kill it unless the Spellbreaker comes out.
And the coin comes into play here. Here is the combo. Hello, 0 mana dudes. There's 1, there's 2. Not too bad. 2 out of 3. Not the biggest minions, but definitely not bad here.
And there's plenty more where that came from, Raven. He's got Wrath to cycle as well while he's here. He's stealthing this 5/1, which seems a little bit ambitious. Some of the tools that will kill it have been used already, but a 1 health minion is, of course, not the hardest thing in the world to kill.
I do like this, though, because look at the amount of power on board.
Yeah.
If your opponent swipes, they're on 6 mana. What, Jade Behemoth is the follow-up after that? They only really kill 1 minion, like 2 if they go trade and then swipe. So, yeah, you still have 15 power on board after a turn.
Ooh.
Smoke them good.
Monsanto eyeing up 10 to face here. I will mention that during those practice tournaments, he did lose to one Brian Kibler, who was playing Jade.
Sly's not here, he's still celebrating.
In a matchup where he did actually run out of value in his deck. That was down to Kibler mind control teching him twice
in one turn
for huge minions. But he said afterwards, he was like, wow, I didn't know that could happen. I didn't know I could get outvalued in this matchup. So his tendency to smork a little bit more in this spot might just be him looking to capitalize on the advantage that he has and just end the game as quickly as possible.
Also as well, this is like a very slow way to attack druid's weakness, right? You know, outside of spreading plague, they cannot deal with a board. Normally the board's like 2 3s, 4 5s. These are just all 5 attack minions and an 8/8.
Yeah.
So when you can do that with even bigger minions, I like the aggressive play here. He still has 10 power hidden through stealth. Opponent's only on 15. He could potentially get there.
Leading with Wild Growth here, he does have that Plague and Doomsayer play available to him. He can manipulate the board a little bit by trading off into the 8/8 before, like trading off 1 into the 8/8 before playing Plague to maximize. But it looks like he's just going to limit the ball and go for 3 here, double
Doomsayer.
off. And looks double Doomsayer going to come down, looking for that hard reset into a reload the turn after. But he doesn't have a huge pile of Jades to drop out after this right now.
I think his assumption is there a reason why Monsanto would draw and not play every single 0 mana he had? Probably not, right?
We played 2 of them, right?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like he probably didn't draw a 3rd, is the assumption. So now he's thinking, Empanizado is thinking, if I clear this board, he either has spells or minions that cost mana, which is much lower impact.
Yeah.
So if he clears this 1 push, then you can probably think, okay, I can control the board. I played 1 Infestation, I have another, I still have Fandral, I have a Silence, Jade Spirit. He has a lot of stuff to go, but now, yep, no, this is not a graphics issue. The Lich King is 0 mana there. Pretty good card.
Empanizado, you are going to have to make one heck of a board next turn, because next turn, Ultimate Infestation into up to 7 or 8, including this draw, and 9, including the natural draw from the next turn, can be played if there was board state.
I was going to say,
allowed.
luckily enough for Empanizado, you cannot fit more than 7 minions on a board, and one of them will be a 5/5 because of the goal.
Exactly.
How bad's that? You're disappointed with the 5/5 from Ultimate Infestation. You wish it didn't make that at this point. I don't know how the draw goes, but Empanizado does clear the board, and that was priority number 1.
He needed a green card. He needed a card with a Jade on it. He needed to make a larger man this turn, Raven.
Remind me to tell you something later. Jade Spirit, though, isn't too bad. He still has the Ultimate Infestation to sort of pull back his hand a little bit. Next turn, you can get a few Jade Idols going if Fandral isn't cleared up. You could try and catch up here, but this is simply a lot of damage.
Yep.
There's...
Oh, boy.
I'm so glad we've got to see this play out like this, because the game is by no means like completely over, but you can see the power of this deck and why, with the addition of Ultimate Infestation, it's a thing.
Any particular reason why you'd like to burn a card, Monsanto? No, okay.
Doesn't need him. It's just confident. I just got it.
This seems better.
Yeah. Look at this power. It's absolutely incredible.
There is another 5/5, and now take your pick for how you would like to fill up the rest of this board state.
We're playing even bigger 5/5.
Yep.
Wait.
Threshadon, copy your Threshadon.
Even Fate Spinner into like buff health, even though it gives it to your opponent, you probably just don't care. It's just an extra dude.
Is this a real deck, Raven?
It looks like it's doing pretty real things to me, and I'm pretty sure Empanizado is thinking it's pretty real when it's happening to him. You just can't argue with this power, right? Did he pick deal 3? He did, right?
There's no way.
I'm not sure if we can see on the spectator. I'm not sure if it tells you. I can't say I've spectated Fate Spinner too often in my Hearthstone career, and that's just going to be a concede. Sol went to point out a point. Doesn't even matter. Empanizado is like, I am done with this deck. Question: 100% win rate in this tournament so far.
And as far as Rob Wing